Inspired, Michiana. So excited for you to join us for today's very special guest, Joe Wingo, on Life Inspired. So if you are tuning in for the first time and you have never seen Life Inspired is basically when God touches a life and does something, in a life. So for a lot of us, we were Christians as young kids, and so we didn't necessarily have a big, huge turning point, but sometimes we have a turning point in our life that just has, God says, well, I want you to come do this. But for others, there are crazy stories where you were not following God.
Right.
And he said, "Badoom!" And now you have this inspired life, right?
Yes.
So I ask 3 questions, and if you guys have questions for Joe, you know what? Message us here. We'll get those. And so basically, what was life like before this big, huge turning point that you're going to tell us? What was your life like? What were you doing?
Oh, I had a wonderful life. I was raised out in the country on a farm, and we really had a great time growing up. So we lived out in the country,
Cool.
and my mom kept us, from the city, and then eventually moved to the city, and then I went to college.
Okay.
And what happened was I started hanging out with the wrong crowd
Okay.
of people.
Okay.
And so as I started hanging out with the wrong crowd of people, I started doing drugs, which kind of made me say, okay, how did I get here? And using reflection, I look back and I said, I was predisposed. Predisposed meaning that I was already addicted to drugs because it was so prevalent in my family that
okay.
it was easy for me to become addicted. And
Okay.
then in November 19th, 1998, hanging out with the wrong group of people, I got shot in the head. And when they found me, I was actually dead. Matter of fact, the emergency room notes read, 32-year-old male shot in the head, thought to have been dead, but he revived. And then we started CPR. And I just thought that was so wonderful of God to blow breath back into my life.
I was just listening this morning when I was dressing for the day. There's a song about, breathing life into these dry bones.
Yes.
And he just does that. He breathes his life wherever.
Right. I love the Lord so much because of his word and the wonderful things he says. I love Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you. And I had no idea this was the direction that I was going to take because God is using my life. Well, after 62 days in the hospital, in the first 2 weeks, I was in a coma, which was really a good thing, Diane. And I say that because of post-traumatic stress disorder. I didn't have to relive all of that blood that I had lost, which was probably about 2 or 3 pints of blood I had lost.
Wow.
And it was good because losing all that contaminated blood, full of addiction. And I said, so when I woke up in the hospital,
You didn't even remember getting shot?
I didn't even remember getting shot. So the first thing I did was I called my mother. And I said, Mom, why am I in the hospital? And you would have to know my mother to understand it. She says to me, boy, shut up, you got shot. And I'm like, Mom, stop playing with me. And she got quiet. And that's when I realized I couldn't move my legs. And it started coming back to me. And I asked myself, I said, what did I do to myself? So one of the things that I had to do was I used reflection. I said, how did I get here?
Okay.
And then once I realized how I had got there, then I accepted my disability. And on those 2 things right there, I was healing spiritually. And I was like, okay, I've got to be a better person than what I was because God had given me this second chance.
Yeah.
And so the last thing that I did was I had to forgive myself for what I had done to myself because nobody had put me in the position that I was. And that's how, those are the things that have kind of kept me going.
When I first heard you was at Rotary,
Yes.
and you said, and I wrote this down, this is like, in my opinion, a famous quote, like a Martin Luther King kind of thing. You said, I had to forgive Joe Wingo for what Joe Wingo did to Joe Wingo.
That's right.
I mean, that's awesome. You had to come to terms with it was your fault that you had put yourself in a situation that you got shot in the head, that put you in the coma, that put you, now you're paralyzed.
Right.
And at that point in time, you probably weren't ever walking again, right?
Well, actually, they didn't even expect me to live.
Right.
From the emergency room, they said that, there's only, he may last the night, he may last a few hours. And then here it's been November the 19th, it's been 20 years since I've been shot. And so I'm very thankful because, yes, forgiveness is important because I had to forgive Joe
Right.
for what I had done to
Right.
Joe. And I found peace with that because years later, the guy who actually shot me had called me and he asked me and he said, Joe, do you know who this is? And I said, yes. And he said, I need you to forgive me. And I said, Frank, I've already forgiven you. God has forgiven you. You need to forgive yourself. And again, at the time, I didn't understand the importance of forgiveness, which brings me to this. I think the most powerful word in any relationship is forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Not love, but forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Yes.
Well, it's almost like forgiveness is the true love. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean? If you love somebody, you will forgive them. God loved us, and He forgave us before we turned around.
That's right.
He forgave us, and He sent Jesus to die on the cross because He loved us that much.
That's
When
right.
we didn't love Him back.
That's right. And so what I have done in this quest to be a new and a better Joe Wingo, I've learned how to give back. I learned how to share my life with kids. And it's so important because they need a role model. And
Right.
I understand that the importance of being a role model because I didn't have one.
Right.
And as I started doing things, I have worked with kids for the last 25 years,
Right.
building back into their lives,
Right.
trying to help them be a better version of themselves.
Right. And so when you came to Rotary, it was the disability luncheon, correct?
Yes.
And this is what your inspired life is today, is giving inspiration to these kids because you have a successful life and you have a disability because now you walk with a cane,
Yes.
correct? Walks, you guys, he walks. He was supposed to be dead 20 years ago and he is walking around sharing with kids. And so tell us a little bit about your ministry and what you're doing with the kids.
Well, I call it standing on new ground. Going back to when I moved out, I got out of the hospital 62 days later, I moved into my own apartment and I heard the Spirit of God say, there is no man in your family. And as I began to look at the men in my family, I said, oh my goodness, if I don't get my life together, my son's son is going to be just like me. So that's when I started doing wonderful things in the community. And what actually happened was the Spirit spoke to me again and said that they can't read. Kids can't read. And I said, whoa. And there's about 250,000 people in the surrounding Mishawaka area, and 40% of those people cannot read or write above the 4th grade level. So
40%?
Yes, 40% cannot read or write above the 4th grade level.
Wow.
And Literacy Council, I found it from there. But also, so I started working with a group of young men, and we had Voyager Summer Reading Academy. And the whole point was to work with kids on reading comprehension strategies, things that they can do to learn, to understand what they're reading. And so in that has been the most wonderful blessing, because I still run into those kids. I was at Kroger's the other day, and the kid said, hey, Mr. Wingo. And I said, how do I know you? He said, I was in your summer reading program when in 2nd grade. I said, how old do you know? He said, I'm 25 years old. And he says, thank you, Mr. Wingo.
Wow. What a blessing. That's
Yes.
so amazing. Very cool.
Yes, God has blessed me to be a blessing. So I'm here to do His work on
Right,
earth.
right.
And He's just put me in so many different
Right.
places. I used to work out at the juvenile facility, and I would run group with boys, and I was out having lunch one day, and the kid says, hey, Mr. Wingo. And I said, how do I know you? He says, 2 towels. Well, later on he tells me, because I didn't realize I teach so much, a man needs 2 towels, one for his body and one for his face. And he had remembered, and I hadn't seen him in
What's
15.
2 tiles mean?
2 towels, a towel for your body and a towel for your face.
Oh, towels.
Yes.
Oh. I heard tiles and
I'm
towels.
so-
Okay,
towels,
a
yeah.
towel for your body to dry off and a towel for your
No,
face.
a towel to wash your face and a towel to wash your body.
Got it.
But he
Okay.
had remembered that 15, it had been at least 15 years.
15 years
And
prior.
I realized that I will plant the seed and God is going to give the increase
For
at
sure.
some other time.
That's all you can do. That's all a farmer plants and the rains have to come and the sun has to, warm them up and the plants just grow and we just watch, right?
Right.
So we are always trying to encourage everybody. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own personal way of connecting to God and hearing from God, and they have to find out how God speaks to them, and it's different. But a lot of times, if the person on the red couch can share how they connect, it might be a similar way that somebody else can connect. So I heard you say that the Holy Spirit spoke to you.
Yes.
You felt the Spirit of God tell you stuff.
Yes.
How do you hear that? What is that like? I mean, do you hear an audible voice? You just have a sense in you that you just know God spoke? What is that for you?
What is for me is all good things come from up above. And I always say, God, if this is you, let me know, because I know all good things come from up above. Because God wouldn't put me in a place that I would hinder someone or that I would hurt someone. So I simply always say that, just let me know it's
Just
from you.
speak out aloud. Was this you? Because it sounded a little bit like me. I'm not sure. So yeah, okay, that's awesome. So
Yes.
very good. Okay, now if somebody would like to have coffee with
Excuse
you,
me.
or if somebody would like to have coffee with you, or meet with you and ask you more, can they do that? We can have you.
Absolutely. I would love to share my story. That's one of the things that I always say in my prayer is, God, send me people that will help me share your love and what you have done for me. So yes, I would enjoy that.
Great. Okay. And then if somebody could help you with the ministry of the reading to the kids and stuff like that, how can they do that? What are some ways people can get you along further along, talking to more people, putting you on a stage like you were at Rotary?
You can connect me with through Inspired One with you all, or you can reach me at Joseph Wingo Jr. So Joseph Wingo Jr. at yahoo.com.
Okay, and they can message you. But what are things that they can do? How can they help you? Do you need financial contributions to get you going?
Absolutely. Financial contributions helps, but it's really about the opportunity. So provide me with the opportunity to share with the students,
Okay.
with anybody. So that would be great.
Okay, so like you guys maybe, if you know principals at some of the high schools or some of the junior highs, or even at the elementaries, that he could come and talk to an assembly. You know, that would be a good thing
Absolutely.
maybe. So yeah, so if you know
Absolutely.
somebody that you can share this story with that needs to know God can change their life if they're addicted to drugs or something like that, and they're trying to tell me something. We want to repeat the email. Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, so the email is Joe, J-O-E.
No, it's Joseph, Joseph, Wingo,
Wingo, W-
Wingo, Jr. at
Junior.
yahoo.com. So
Okay.
Joseph Wingo
Junior.
Jr., no dot,
Right.
Joseph Wingo Jr. at yahoo.com.
Okay, so you guys got that, and we'll put it in the message as well. So yeah, so share this with somebody that you know that needs to hear about how much God can change a life, and if you know somebody that we can get them into the schools, maybe we need to share it with Seth Most at 5 Star and get you to be a speaker for 5 Star.
Yes, I would enjoy any opportunity to share,
Okay.
how good and how great God has been to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
All right, you guys, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.